everybody, Lord Tremendous here. Got another battle report here for you. 3,000 point battle using the Legion rules because, well, we can, so we do. But this is actually a really good fight. It's me, Lord Tremendous of the Undead Legion, versus King Fancy Pants of the Bretonnians. And yes, the damn lady does guide the Bretonnians. Oh, it drives me nuts. But this is a hell of a fight. So sit back, relax, and let the sultry tones of my voice bring you through this whole thing. And I have no idea why I threw a southern accent on that one, but it felt right. It just felt right.
Assemble the army!
Here's my list, and it's more the same. Vampire Lord, Lord Tremendous, on his Zombie Dragon, Level 2 Wizard, Heavy Armor, Sword of Might, Enchanted Shield, Talisman of Preservation, Other Trickster, Shard, Red Fury, Quick Blood, Lord Death. And then, of course, I have my Lich High Priest, Queen Elizabeth, Level 4 Wizard, Dispel Scroll, Seed of Rebirth, Laura Nehekhara. My hero choices are a Tomb Prince, Dark Vincent with the Great Weapon, Armor, Silvered Steel, and the Luckstone, and my Necrotex, Sinister Jeffrey with Gambler's Armor, Dragonbane Gem, and the Iron Curse icon. My core choices are 5 Direwolves, 10 Skeleton Archers with a Musician, 58 Skeleton Warriors, the Fateless, with full command, light armor, and shields, 14 Skeleton Archers, the Queen's Guard, with Unit Champion and Banner, and 3 Chariots, Rolling Bones, with Musician, Banner, and the Banner of Eternal Flame. My special choices are 5 Hexwraiths, 3 Vargeist, 3 Medusa Stalkers, those that gaze, and a Chimerian War Sphinx with Fiery Breath and a Pear Tree, because yes. And my rare choices are my Hyro Titan, Nad the Protector, my Screaming Skull Catapult, and my Casket of Souls. No Bretonnian list. To be perfectly honest with you, my opponent threw it together on, what's it called? Army Builder about 20-30 minutes before we played, and when I got there he didn't have it printed out. It was on the computer. I tried to take a picture of it, but I got glare, so I don't have a list. I suck. I'm sorry. Here are my spells, which are pretty much as they sit. Spirit Leech is on my Vampire Lord and on my Hyro Titan, but I've only got 1 card, so that's why there's one. It looks like there's 1 missing. Spirit Leech is just on 2 of my casters. And here's my opponent's spells, which looks like Laura Life and Wisdom's Wild Form. Here's deployment, and to be perfectly honest with you, I wanted a piece of these guys after what happened last time. My Dragon Lord is just sitting up on the hill because it just looks all, you know, triumphant. And I wanted the Hexwraiths to be able to march. I didn't think any of his knights would make that charge into my Hexwraiths. It was a bit of a gamble, but I was like 20 inches away from him, 22 maybe, something like that. So if they could have made that charge, then, you know, the lady would have just willed it, and there's nothing I can do against the god. So that's why they are over on my left flank there. I also wanted my general to be into his general on that my left flank anyway. That unit of knights has his BSB and his general in it. They're way far away from most of the army. In fact, they're about as far over to the right as he could possibly be without being off the table. So I wanted to get into that unit quick and keep them away from the rest of the army so that my fear and terror checks and the catapult and everything like that actually worked, and perhaps ran them off the board, because if there's one thing Bretonnians can do, it's flee. Plus it gets rid of their whole, you know, ward save and everything like that. So that was the hope anyway. So I wanted to throw my general over there because I figured he could take anything they could dish out. I have my War Sphinx middle left field there to back up any play that my general makes, if at all possible. Nad the Protector, the Skeleton Warriors, and my Skeleton Archers are all right there in the middle to just do their combo thing with the Direwolves in front to redirect. I've got my 10 Archers on the hill just to kind of, you know, harass. And then, of course, I got my Chariots on the right side of my Skeleton Warriors, also just as support. Their job was to... I knew with the catapult off on its own on the hill that like that kind of exposed, he would send lances after it, and that was the hope. If he sends lances after the catapult, I get a charge off on him with my chariots. And 3d6 strength 4 flaming hits is nothing to laugh at when you're only toughness 3. Even though they have a high armor save, I just need to get a few through. And then, of course, my Vargeists proxied are on the right flank there, and they're there to also countercharge anything that's going after my catapult. Then that's deployment. Here's my opponent's right flank, which I believe consists of that unit on the left is Grail Knights with a BSB, his general, and I believe a damsel installed. Right next to them is a unit of Knights of the Realm, I think, with a damsel installed. Here's his center, which consists of two Knights of the... Is it Errant Knights? I'm sorry, two units of Knights Errant. There's a Paladin on a Pegasus. There's like 30 or 40 Peasant Bowmen, and of course a Trebuchet on the hill. And his left flank, which consists of his Yeomen, which are in front, a unit of Knights of some sort on the right there. I don't know what they are. Maybe more Knights of the Realm, Knights Errant. I can't remember, but there's a damsel installed, and there is a paladin installed. And then there in the middle are questing knights, and I believe there might be a paladin in there as well. I'm not 100%. And here's my right flank, which consists of my 3 proxied Vargeist and my Stone Thrower. And here's my center. From right to left, there's my chariots, my dogs, my skeleton warriors with Necrotech and Prince installed, my unit of archers with my level 4 High Priest installed, my Titan, my Chimera, my Chimerian War Sphinx, and my Casket. And here's my left flank, which consists of my 10 archers, my dragon, and my Hex Race. Here's top of 1 after movement, and I gotta go first. So my Vargeist charge his Yeoman. I needed like a 10 to hit him or something like that. Something relatively difficult to hit, but I actually obviously got it. But I charged them. The plan was if I charged a Yeoman, I figured they would flee. If they didn't flee and I made the charge, great. If not, then, you know, I move D6 inches forward and that would be that. But the idea was to make the yeoman flee and cause a bit of a traffic jam, because hopefully with, you know, his general and everything way on the other side, he fails to rally him. It screws up his movement phase a little bit, maybe even forces a panic. I didn't care. I figured it couldn't hurt me. And then my Vargeist actually made the charge. So I adapted my plan to say, okay, so I kill the yeoman, I overrun, and I keep 2 big units of knights on his side of the table for at least 1 extra turn. That was the intent anyway. Other than that, I really don't do a whole lot of movement. My Hex Rays move up a little bit, but my Dragon Lord and everything, I just kind of hang back. There's no reason to move up or anything like that. I knew I was going to go first because they're Bretonnians, they're going to pray. But I didn't see the need to go first. I know he's coming at me. He's Bretonnians. They kind of move fast. So I stayed where I was for the most part. Here's a better picture of the Vargeist slamming into the yeoman, and the fact that they made that charge just shows how eager Vargeists are to get into combat, especially against Toughness 3 Fast Cav. During the magic phase, I'm able to get my bubble ward off on pretty much everything but the direwolves in this picture, which is great. Anytime you have a free 5-up ward save, it's a good thing, right? Unfortunately for me, it was a miscast 5, and yeah.
No! You must not read from the book!
My guys catch a little bit of hell. The ward save really doesn't save anything. 4 archers die, and my character takes a wound. It also ends my magic phase, so... was it worth it? I guess so. Would I do it again knowing I was going to miscast? Probably not. But, you know, you can't always work with hindsight. So that sucked a little bit, but I lost some archers, and my level 4 is now 1/3 dead. More dead. Well, you know what I mean. And then shooting does nothing. My catapult, of course, is hitting off the table. My archers, they weren't in range, so we went into combat, and my Vargeist obliterate the yeoman, no problem. And since they're frenzied, they overrun like 5 inches because they're exhausted from that crazy charge I had before, and they land right there. Beautiful charges for both lances of those knights, but again, it slows them down a little bit, so I guess it was worth it. So we go over here to bottom of 1 after movement, and the knights move forward. Pretty much everyone just goes pell-mell straight forward. The sooner they get into me, the sooner I'll stop hurting them. And of course, on my right flank there, both the questing knights and whatever the hell flavor of the knights they are, slam into the Vargeist. They both make it no problem because I think they needed like a 5. And actually, both of them just barely made it, but they both made it, you know, so... The Vargeists are very screwed, but I got the yeoman, and I'm holding that right flank up a little bit with 138 points, so I feel good about that. Other than that is archers and his trebuchet pretty much just stay put, so fun. Here's a better picture of his questing knights and his whatever knights with a paladin and a damsel slamming into the Vargeists, and you know what, the Vargeists are happy because they get some more bloody combat, right? During his magic phase, he gets Shield of Thorns off of off on his from his damsel or his prophetess or whatever that's in that unit onto his Grail Knights, and I really didn't care because it was only strength 3. He does. I'm sorry, he got it off because it was irresistible force. Sorry, notes are crossed. But yeah. He ends up getting the miscast 6 on his prophetess, which is awesome. However, as you can see, it doesn't do a whole heck of a lot of damage. I ended up hitting like 9 or 8, including the damsel. All of his characters made their lookouts there. The prophetess didn't make, well, she didn't get a roll on it or whatever, but she made her ward save because of the lady. However, with the knights, out of the 8, I think, yeah, 3, 6, yeah, 8 strength 10 hits, I rolled 5 ones. 5 ones. I don't know. I used the cup. I'm willing to burn more dice, but whatever. It is what it is. My dice are rolling average, just not during the rolls. One average will be really high, or one roll will be really high, one will be really low, but it's still better than where they were at. So things happen. You know, you can't always have your cake and eat it too, so that's fine. So I do like 3 wounds. He makes a ward save, so like 2 of them die, and then his magic phase ends. But it's like, that could have been so much better. So yeah, 2 Grail Knights are down, and that's it. That's the only thing that happened. During the shooting phase, that huge brick of archers fires 35 shots at my dogs and only kills 4 of them, which actually works out great because now my dog can go in there and get in the way of one of those errant knights or whatever. And yeah, he's going to die, but he's going to redirect him real nice, and that's incredibly useful. Then over here in combat, believe it or not, the Vargeist are able to take out one of the questing knights before they get pulverized, which is fine. And of course, they do overrun a little bit the unit on the right side there, but the questing knights just kind of reform a little bit, and that's it. So that was the end of the Vargeist for this game, and it's sad. So, with all this fun said and done, we go over here to top of 2 after movement, and yay! My Vampire Lord immediately charges into the Grail Knights. I just wanted to get a hold of them and stop them from getting over towards the right, you know, giving their leadership and the BSB reroll to anything. My Hex Race charge into the flank of whatever flavor, I think Knights of the Realm, Errant Knight, I don't know what the hell they are. That are right next to his general's unit, and the idea here was there's nothing in that unit that can hurt my Hex Race, so they should be able to take them down. You know, their armor save is going to be useless. Yeah, they'll have a 5-up ward save, but they should still be able to do anything. Charge, flank, some wounds. I should be able to win these combats. I should be able to, you know, pop this unit, and it's not going to charge, and my left flank is secure now, which leaves the rest of my army to deal with what's in the middle. So I felt pretty good about that. Then over on my right flank, my stalkers come in, and they're going to Care Bear stare at whatever the unit of knights that are frenzied that just overran through my Vargeists, and maybe do a little bit of march blocking on the questing knights and stuff like that. And the one dog moves up to get in the way of the errant knights in the middle there to just redirect them for a turn. So things are looking up. There's a better picture of my Hex Race and my Dragon making their charge, which is awesome. Nothing happens in the magic phase. I get like 3 in the magic phase, something ridiculous. And my shooting phase, of course, is way off course. So we go into combat, and my Hex Race flub miserably. The steeds wound like 3 times, but of course he makes all his armor saves. But the riders, I can't roll to hit. I just completely flub my roll. So charge and a flank to 2 ranks and a banner. I lose this combat by 1, and one of the Hex Race go back into the dirt, which is really a bummer. That could have went so much better, but it didn't. So what can you do? And I lose a Hex Wraith, and they do make their leadership check and turn to face. I just didn't take a picture of it. Then over here in combat, his general issues a challenge. My Vampire Lord accepts. I'm able to put 2 wounds through on his general because he's making his ward saves, even with the rerolls. He's got like the Armor of Destiny or something like that, so he makes all of his ward saves. Well, he makes 2 wounds get through basically on his general. Not enough to kill him, even with the dragon attacking him and everything. He does put all of his attacks into my dragon and does 1 wound to my dragon. Charge, high ground, and 2 wounds to 3 ranks, banner, BSB, and some other shenanigans or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how it all works out. Maybe he doesn't do a wound to the dragon, but whatever. In the end, the dragon takes a wound, and that's okay, I guess. You know, I'm hoping maybe I can do something about this later on. So I'm a little nervous now about my left flank, and so we go over here to bottom of 2, and things just get so much more fun. His paladin on a Pegasus or whatever charges my war kitty and makes it. His errant knights charge a dog and, well, make it. And the questing knights and whatever other flavor knights there on my right flank show up, and that kind of sucks. I was really hoping that my damn catapult would hit the knights and do something, but of course it didn't because life's not fair. And yeah, other than that, everything else just kind of is either in combat or moves up conservatively. There's a better picture of the errant knight slamming into my dire wolf, and that's sad. And there's a better picture of his paladin slamming into my war kitty, and I was curious to see what was going to happen here. I got to be honest with you. During the magic phase, he gets regrowth off on his Grail Knights because I wanted to save dice for dwellers below. He heals the 2 Grail Knights that died from the miscast, and heals a wound on his general because, well, that's lore life for you. And then his Trebuchet targets my unit of Skeleton Warriors and hits beautifully. No problem at all. And kills 12. 12 of my guys die. Yeah, Trebuchets. Better than Skull Catapults, let me tell you. Then over here in combat, my direwolf dies a horrible death as he's shish kebabbed by 9 knights. And then over here, I kill one of his knights, maybe 2, and with rank banner to nothing, I think he has a musician, he wins combat by 1, and another Hexwraith dies. So at least they're holding them up. At least they're holding them up. It's not looking good like I'm going to get this unit, but damn it, they're holding them up, and I'll take it. Then over here in combat, I kill his general, but I just do enough wounds to hurt him. And so with 2 ranks, 2 banners to like 2 wounds, he wins by 2. And so I think I even take another wound or something like that. Something happens, and now my dragon has 4 wounds on him. And I'm starting to get a little nervous. Like, I should be doing a lot better than this with Red Fury and Quick Blood, and I'm just not. The lady protects a lot, but I did get his general. I feel pretty good about that. And now I've got this whole stupid army to go, or this whole stupid unit to go through, and I have nothing to go in there and give him backup. So I'm starting to really regret this charge. Then over here in combat, it's a stalemate. His little character or whatever, he does have heroic killing blow, but he isn't able to roll any 6s to wound. In fact, he's not able to wound at all. And my kitty isn't able to wound at all. So with charge, he wins by 1, but I'm an arcane construct and could care less. So we go over here to top of 3 after movement, and I'm getting a little desperate. I won't lie to you. I send the chariots into the questing knights because I figure why not? What other choice do I have? Other than that, everything else pretty much is dead or in combat. The stalkers do go after the weird flavored knights on my right flank there, but that's more of a, they didn't have any better target currently. So other than that, everything I have is in combat or not moving. There's a better picture of my chariot slamming into the questing knights, and I'm hoping for a big impact hit phase there. Nothing happens in my magic or shooting phase again. Awesome. So we go straight into combat, and as you can see, my chariots knock the piss out of the questing knights. 3 of them die. They're only able to return 1 wound back onto my chariots. They break, and I'm able to restrain my chariots, and I let the remaining guy go because they started at 6 and there's 1 left. He needs snakes to rally this guy. I'm letting him go. My chariots reform so that when his weird flavored knights do charge my catapult and kill it, which I'm fine with because the catapult has failed 2 turns in a row now, or 3 turns in a row now, I can countercharge with my chariots and hopefully kill him. And yes, I angled him in such a way that his knights can't see him. Then over here in combat, the War Kitty mans up, and not only does he weather all of his attacks, but the attacks back, I'm able to slip a wound through. I actually win by 1, but he makes his break check and stays, but now he's a third of the way dead, and that's the right direction to go. Then over here in combat, I'm able to kill another Grail Knight. I think I do 3 wounds to him or whatever, but it's not enough, and I take 1 more. My dragon has literally 1 wound left, and he's going to die, and then it's just my general, and he's going to combat res to death, and that sucks! Then over here, the Hexwraiths kill 1 more knight, and I end up losing by 1 and losing another Hexwraith. It's just not going well for the Hexwraiths right now at all. So we go over here to bottom of 3 after movement, and yay. For the most part, his units of knights on the right charge into my catapult, and that's perfectly fine. I'm kind of glad that thing's going to die. And that's really it. Everything else he has is dead or in combat. His questing knight does not rally and flees like another 9 or 10 inches, so he's on his way out, and that's nice. There's a better picture of the knights dealing with my useless catapult, and I thought that was kind of him. During the magic phase, he gets Throne of Vines off, Throne of Vines off on his Prophetess, and I wanted to stop Dwellers. I really didn't want to see that spell go off. And then he gets Shield of Thorns off on these guys in order to try to take out my Hex Race, but he's not able, when he does roll it at the end of the magic phase, he's not able to wound with it. Strength 4 to Toughness 3, and he didn't roll a 3. It was like 6 or 7 hits, and he didn't roll 1 wound, and that really shocked the hell out of me, I gotta be honest with you. During his shooting phase, however, that damn trebuchet. In all fairness, it's hard to miss my skeleton warriors, I'll give you that. But he deviates like 4 inches, still hits a bunch of my skeletons, and I think he tinks my, my Titan as well, killing off about 5 skeleton warriors and doing a wound to my Titan, so that really sucked. And then his unit of archers take careful aim and fire at my skeleton warriors, killing off 5 more. So there goes a whole rank just to his shooting, which has been much more effective than my shooting, which breaks my heart a little bit, I won't lie to you. In the combat phase, his knights are able to easily kill the failures that are my skull catapults, so I gotta be honest with you, that one actually made me feel a little vindicated. I was happy to see the skull catapult die because it really pissed me off. And then over here in combat, I kill another one of his knights, and I lose combat by 1, losing yet another Hex Wraith. It's starting to notice a pattern. Then over here in combat, I kill another Grail Knight, I lose by 1, and my dragon dies. So now I've got my Vampire Lord sitting there going, damn it, I've lost my dragon. And you know what? I gotta be honest with you. I'm actually rolling really well for my Vampire Lord and everything like that. My opponent is rolling ward saves, even with the rerolls. Like the Lady of the Lake really exists. I swear I'm gonna throttle that bitch one day. I just can't stand it. Then over here, the kitty gets pet by the paladin, and they become friends for a turn, which I thought was kind of heartwarming. So we go over here to top of 4 after movement, and well, my chariots, they enjoyed charging the questing knights so much that they charge the other knights, and that's kind of their job. My stalkers, I toyed with charging them into the flank of the knights, but I gotta be honest, I don't know why I didn't. I made a mistake. Yeah, I should have maybe, but I didn't. And so they just kind of started moving their way back towards the middle of the table, hopefully getting to something there. And everything else I have pretty much just stands still because I'm still Tomb Kings, I'm still undead, and my general is about to die, so it's not like I can really march anyway. There's a better picture of my chariots slamming into his whatever knights because I don't know what the hell they are. And then during the magic phase, I get that incantation of desiccation off on his knights because I want them to be easier to wound with impact hits. I need to get as many wounds through on these guys as undeadly possible so that they die. You know, I need to kill 4 of them in order to make them not steadfast, and that's important. Well, actually, I think I just need to kill 2, but I just want them to not be steadfast, lose combat, and break so that I can either run them down or they run off the table. During combat, the Hex Rays don't bother killing anything. They lose by more than 1 and die, and I'm not mad at him for it. I rolled very poorly for him, and my opponent rolled great for his ward saves, so what can you do? I'm not going to fault him for it. Hex Rays held that unit up for most of the game, 4 turns, so perfect. It was worth it. And then over here in combat, my chariots are on fire. Literally, not just because of the Banner of Eternal Flame, but literally on fire. They kill 4 of whatever flavor knights these things are, taking literally nothing in return, because I think these guys are mostly strength 2 right now. They do nothing back to my chariots. I charge, banner, and 4 wounds to, like, I think he's got a banner, so he loses by 5. He is not steadfast. And my chariots not only break this unit, but they run those bastards down. My chariots have taken out a unit of questing knights and a unit of whatever knights with a paladin and a damsel. My chariots have been super MVP this game, and I absolutely love it. Then over here in combat, the bird, the war kitty is on point and tears off one of the wings of this damn thing. It's got 1 wound left. It does lose by 1, but it makes its break check. But, oh man, it's so close. I might actually kill it. And I lied. He doesn't make his break check. He actually flees. He loses by 1. He flees, and that's fine. The War Kitty does not pursue because I didn't want the Errant Knights or whatever to have an easy charge at him. I kind of figured he was going to charge my Skeleton Warriors, and I wanted to be able to countercharge with the War Kitty. So I just kind of turned him to get ready to countercharge whatever the Errant Knights charge. And yeah, the Pegasus guy, he flies off, and he only went like 5 or 6 inches. So starting to think that maybe I should have pursued him. Then over here in combat, my Vampire kills another Grail Knight, but loses combat by 1 and takes a wound because I've got a tradition to uphold of taking at least one wound a combat while killing one of his guys. It's just crazy. So after all that, we go over here to bottom of 4 after movement, and the inevitable happens. Both units of Errant Knights slam into what remains of my Skeleton Warriors, and that sucks! Meanwhile, his Pegasus Paladin does not rally and continues to flee, which is awesome. His archers move up a little bit. Well, I think they march up because they got nowhere else to go. And whatever flavor of knights it was that were dealing with my Hex race most of the game, move up to charge the War Kitty probably next turn. Other than that, everything else is deader in combat. There's been a picture of the Errant Knights slamming into the Skeleton Warriors, and that's going to be rough because I don't have the Killing Blow spell, so thinking that maybe my Skeleton Warriors are DRT. And during the magic phase, he gets, I think, regrowth off on these guys again. He brings back 1 or 2 of his Grail Knights, which is fine. And I think that's it, because I don't think there's anything that was wounded or anything like that. Shield of Thorns actually works. It wasn't Throne of Vines. It was Shield of Thorns off on these guys. And it actually works. He actually does slip a wound through on my Vampire Lords, who was supposed to last another turn, but didn't. So, yeah, that's going to suck, because if I lose combat by anything this turn, he's dead. And that's exactly what happens. I kill another Grail Knight, but I lose by 1 or 2, and my Vampire Lord dies. And that's just the way it is sometimes. So, yep, he lays down and goes to sleep for a while. And, that was my fault. Well played by my opponent. What can you do? Then over here in combat, my Skeleton Warriors don't do terrible. I lose like 7. I think I lose this combat, but I kill 3 knights from the left unit and 2 from the right, so 5 knights die. I don't remember how many I lost to him in this combat, but Hatred and Weapon Skill 5 that are Weapon Skill not 5 was really telling in this combat. And while I'm pretty sure I lose this combat, it's not by a lot. It's not by a lot at all, and so I'm feeling pretty freaking good about that. So we go over here to top of 5 after movement, and as you can see, the War Kitty countercharges into the flank of those knights because they gotta go. Meanwhile, my Titan moves out just a little bit because I want to try to get Shim's Burning Gaze off on his Paladin and finish him off. My Chariots turn around and are able to swift reform closer back towards the middle there to hopefully charge next turn into whatever knights are left and kill them if that combat's still going on. And other than that, everything else I have is well, very dead. You know, what can you do? There's a better picture of the War Kitty slamming into the knights, and that's going to be awesome. During the magic phase, I'm desperate, and I get Bubble Ward off on the rest, on my army and stuff like that, which is great. I am able to bring back 4 more Skeleton Warriors, which is good, because I needed to. Unfortunately for me, it was another irresistible force.
No! You must not read from the book!
She ends up miscasting 11, which makes me lose 2 spells, and so now she's only level 2. I lose my ward save, and I believe the incantation of movement, where you lose D3 movement and you take dangerous terrain checks. I think that's the other spell she lost. But what really sucks is now she's only level 2, and he's still got a level 4 Prophetess, just firing off life spells like there's no tomorrow. So I'm not thrilled about that, but at least she's still alive, and that's something. Then over here in combat, this one actually goes a lot better than it looks. My War Kitty alone is able to kill 3 in that unit that he's in base-to-base with. My opponent did not pick up the models because, well, he knew that unit, this combat wasn't going to go well. He figured either the unit was going to be dead or broken, and then dead or whatever. So it was probably smart. It was probably viable. But yeah, like in the end, I think 4 of the knights on the right there, or on the left, are dead, and then of course the 2 on the right that are dead, and he kills like 4 of my Skeleton Warriors, which is not enough. He loses combat by a decent amount. I can't remember how much, 3 or 4, I think, maybe 5. I can't remember exactly, but he breaks, and well, the unit on the left breaks. The war kitty chases after him, but isn't able to capture him. So I think it's the unit champion or a musician is left fleeing, but he now needs Snake Eyes to rally, and I got a war kitty, chasing after him. So I feel pretty good about that. Meanwhile, the remaining 5 knights that are in the skeleton warriors, I think I can take. So I'm actually kind of thinking that this one might be a victory for me. I'm enjoying the way this is going. So with the fun said and done, we go over here to bottom of 5 after movement, and there's a bunch of it. Whatever those knights are that took care of the hex ray, slam into the flank of my war kitty, and that sucks a little bit. His big old unit of mostly fine Grail Knights run forward as far as they can to try to get into my Skeleton Warriors and soak up all those points. And his bowman, I'm sorry, one of his units of knights, the one that was fleeing, bounces through the unit of peasant bowmen, causing them to panic. They do panic because he had not rallied his paladin on a Pegasus yet. The bowmen flee. I don't remember how far they go, but it's enough. And yeah, the other questing knight, he doesn't rally either. He never does. He ends up off the table. And then the Pegasus paladin guy, he ends up rallying this turn and turning around to face, but not before the peasant bowman panics, so he didn't get to use the knight's leadership on that one. And so yeah, now his middle is all collapsing and retreating, which is looking good. And yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on there. There's a better picture of whatever these knights are slamming on the flank of the war kitty. And I got to be honest with you, I'm feeling pretty confident about this fight. He still needs 6s to wound me. I have a 5-up ward save thanks to that irresistible spell from earlier. So bring it on, knights. I think I got this. During his magic phase, it finally happens. He gets Dwellers Below off Irresistible, which he ignores because he has Throne of Vines off. He ends up killing off all but 5 of my archers in the Queen's Guard, and he does get my High Lich Priest with Dwellers. So can't fault my opponent for being smart. You know what I mean? Then during the shooting phase, his trebuchet really only has one target, fires at my damn stalkers, and direct hits the one on, closest to us in this picture, killing him and I'm sorry, he hits right in the middle. I apologize. He hits the center one. He does 3 wounds to the one in the middle, and then he does 2 wounds or he does a wound to each on either side. So he does max wounds basically, and that breaks my heart. His trebuchet is too accurate for this game, and that sucks. Then over here in combat, this unit fails its fear check. Plain simple and to the point. Fails his fear check and ends up flubbing spectacularly. I am able to kill, I think, two or three of the knights. I can't remember exactly how many. I win this combat, but they're steadfast and they stick it out. My war kitty turns to face them, and I love the war kitty. I really, really do. Then over here in combat, I am not able to do anything to the knights. Their armor and ward saves stop all the wounds. However, he only does 1 wound to me with 2 ranks and a banner to his wound and a banner. I win by 1. They aren't steadfast, but they stay, so that kind of sucks. So we go over here to top of 6 after movement, and right now it's no guts, no glory. So I move I charge the chariots into the flank of those remaining knights, and that's nice. And I move the Titan up in such a way that his Grail Knights can't charge into my Skeleton Warriors and combat res them to death. My archers move in such a way that they can take out his Paladin because I want those points, and the Stalkers hide behind impassable terrain because I'm tired of that Trebuchet hitting every single turn. So, yeah, tired of that shit. There's a better picture of his chariots, or my chariots, slamming into his knights, and really hoping to do some damage there. During the magic phase, nothing happens, but in the shooting phase, my archers, my strength 3 archers, are able to slip the final wound through on his paladin and kill him. So that's awesome. I like archers when they do stuff. So that was kind of cool. Then over here in combat, I'm able to kill the damsel. I put a lot of attacks into her. I think I end up blowing her, which is great. The other 2 knights either make their armor saves or their ward saves. I'm not sure which. Doesn't really matter. They make them. I'm able to win this combat by 2. They aren't steadfast, but they do stay because the BSB was in range, and that sucked. But the war kitty has not taken any damage and is kicking butt and taking names, so I'm loving that. Then over here, my chariots and the combo and everything like that, I'm able to kill 2 of the knights, and they only are able to do 1 wound to my skeleton warriors again, which I'm actually okay with. I'm making my parry saves, which is a little ridiculous, I gotta be honest with you. But yeah, the chariots, charge, high ground, flank, banner, 2 ranks and 2 wounds to 1 wound, and I think he has a banner. These guys lose by like 7. I think he almost rolls snake eyes though. He rolls like a 3 or something. And even with the BSB, I think that's in range, or maybe it wasn't. I don't recall. But they flee, and the chariots catch them. So let's recap, shall we? The chariots caught the questing knights, the weird flavored knights, who I'm not really sure what they were, with a paladin and a damsel installed. And then they helped finish off that unit of knights that was in my skeleton warriors and caught them when they fled. The chariots have easily gathered up 800 points for me, including banners, and have really earned my respect. Quite spectacular. Not to mention, how about those skeleton warriors just weathering a double lance charge? Woo, this was a good fight. I felt great about this, I won't lie. And you know what? I got to throw a little mud in the eye of the lady, so that was nice too. So we go over here to bottom of 6 after movement, and I really, there's nothing. His unit of Grail Knights with the BSB and Prophet is slamming into my Titan because he made the sacrifice play and they were going to take it. His 1 remaining Errant Knight does fail to rally, but he only flees like 5 inches and he does not run off the table, which was heartbreaking. And to make matters worse, his Peasant Bowmen rally. If you can believe it. So he's got his Knight Errant unit, which I'm not going to get any points for other than the banner. His Bowmen, which I'm not going to get any points for because they rallied. And then, of course, he's got that huge unit of Grail Knights. His BSB and his Prophet is in there, which I'm not going to get any points for because although I really do believe in my Titan, I don't believe that he's got a whole lot of luck here. So we'll see, though. We'll see. There's a better picture of his Bowman rallying and his Knight not, what's it called? Fleeing off the table, and that sucks. That's a lot of points I really could have used. And there's a better picture of his Grail Knight slamming in a Nad, who's making the ultimate sacrifice to save me points. I'd rather lose the 175-point Titan than the 320-point unit of Skeleton Warriors with a Necrotech and a Tomb Prince installed, not to mention a banner. It's a lot of points in there. A 175-point Titan I can afford to lose. Then in the Magic phase, he gets regrowth off on his unit of Knights here that are in with the War Kitty, but he only regrows 1, so I'm fine with that. And then we go into combat, and unfortunately for my Titan, he dies. Combat res alone was enough, but yeah, he puts like 3 wounds, 3 or 4 wounds. He doesn't outright kill him. I do my attacks back at his BSB, and any wounds that I do to the BSB actually dink right off his armor, so that was a shame. Combat res and everything else like that just completely obliterate my poor Titan, and his Grail Knights overrun and slam into the flank of my Skeleton Wars, no problem. However, this is bottom of 6, so that's never going to matter. Then over here in combat, my War Kitty is able to do 1 more wound to this unit of Knights that he's in. They're able to do nothing back to him. I did a wound to his banner. He has a musician, so he wins by 1. I'm an Arcane Construct and couldn't care less. And that's going to do it, guys. There's the end of the game, and what an incredible game it was. I mean, bloody, vicious, full of ups and downs, craziness on both sides. This was a fun friggin' game, and it was tough, too, you know? I mean, everybody considers the Bretonnians a weaker army and stuff like that. Holy crap. You get the right general behind these guys, and they're tougher than Dark Elves riding phoenixes into the sun with Way Watchers at their back. This was a really good fight, though, and I'm proud of my army. I got to be honest with you, I'm really proud of my army. It really held up well against a lot of stuff. The chariots were unbelievable. The skeleton warriors were unbelievable. The War Kitty, as always, was just fantastic. The dragon lord, you know, vampire and a dragon, everything like that, he even did pretty well. It was unfortunate that I got him killed the way I did, and I know, I agree with you guys, the lore of vampires would be a much better lore to have on him, and I intend to switch over to the lore of vampires. I haven't, and you're not going to like the reason why. Death Holy Death almost punched me in the face when I told him why. I don't have the magic cards for vampire accounts yet, and I like to have the cards so I don't have to keep referencing the book when I'm in my magic phase. So really it just comes down to my own personal OCD, and I know that's not a good enough excuse. I know I'm going to get all sorts of hate comments, but it's the truth, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. Well, I will, but not on this. But you know what? We're going to get to the recap in a minute, because right now it's time for a quick timeout. Banners, banners, banners. Get you some banners. Look at the banners. You are never going to be able to get better banners than this. There is no company, there is no talent scout, there is no entity on the planet that's going to get you banners better than this. Custom banners for your custom army. You want better paint scores. You want that little edge that makes your army better than the guy next to you. Sick of running, going to tournaments and getting that paint score that's just a few points lower than the guy that literally sneezes on his army. And you can't figure out why? Get these banners and make your army really pop, really stand out. Send this guy an email, tell him what you want, and get yourself some banners. It's totally worth it. Alright guys and gals, there it is. Token Gal is back, and she's back in full operation mode of making tokens. So if you missed out before she went and got married and became Mrs. Token Gal, or however that works, this is your chance. Get your tokens now. Send her an email. Send her your monies. Get yourself some tokens. They're dirt cheap, solid gold quality. You're not going to be disappointed. Tell her Tremendous sent you. She'll probably know. But yeah, get these tokens. They're so much better than just using dice. They're so much easier to remember everything. You don't have to worry about your cards getting lost, stolen, ripped, torn, whatever. And, they're glass beads, cool high-def pictures. Totally worth it. Get yourself some tokens. You won't regret it. And Unleashed Wargaming's painting services is back, guys. I took it down for a little bit while I redid the ad and added some of his newer pictures, but as you can see, he does amazing work. He's based out of the US. He does solid, quality work to all armies. I mean, you saw the pictures. You've seen the quality. You've seen the vibrant colors and the attention to detail and everything. I mean, that banner is free-handed. I mean, how are you not going to like something like that? So if you're like me, and you hate painting, but you don't have an awesome wife to do all your painting for you, give this guy an email, talk to him about what you need, and he's going to knock it out for you. You're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be embarrassed when you play your army at, your local store, at GTs, or local GTs at your store, or however the heck you want to play. You'll have a painted army. It's going to be a beautifully painted army to your specifications. How can you go wrong? Send him an email, get your army painted, and quit embarrassing yourself. Tell him Tremendous sent you. So in the end, after totaling up all the points, it was an insane draw for Lord Tremendous. I ended up getting 1,702 points out of him, and he ended up getting 1,609 points out of me, for a difference of 93 points. I just missed the victory by 8 points, so I can't complain though. This was a terrifically fun game. It really, really was. A lot of laughing, a lot of frustration, a lot of real nail-biting things. His paladin dying, his unit of questing knights getting mulched, his unit of knights with a paladin and a damsel getting mulched, my vampire lord getting mulched, my hex race flubbing and not able to take out that unit, which I guess makes sense, but still, it was so much craziness, so many back and forth things. It was a really fun game, and it was up in the air the whole time, and to be honest with you, in this one, the coin never dropped. Gravity's broke. But yeah, really fun game. The Undead Legion ended up losing my Vampire Lord, my Lich High Priest, my Direwolves, my Hex Race, my Titan, and my Catapult. The Bretonnians ended up losing their General, the Questing Knights, the Knights Errant, one Damsel, a Paladin on a Griffin, Paladin on a Warhorse, Knights of the Realm, and a Yeoman, or the Yeoman. But yeah, how about that War Sphinx? It is my new beast. I mean, holy crap, is that model amazing. Took the charge from the heroic killing blow bad guy, weathered all the attacks, put 2 wounds through on him in a couple of rounds of combat, and broke him, which gave my archers a chance to cut him down. So that was friggin' amazing. I love that model. And then he held that unit there for a while, and if they had just failed a couple more ward saves, I might have been able to vaporize the unit. So long live the War Kitty. What can I tell you? I made a terrible decision with my Vampire Lord. Hindsight is 2020, and I've already explained my logic on why I thought that was a good idea. I didn't expect the flub, nor did I expect the lady to protect as much as she does. I probably should have. Right now, somewhere, Sustainable Center is laughing, and he has no idea why. But yeah, that really discourages me every time the lady protects rolls work out. But I'm a bit of a brat, so you know what? Maybe I had it coming. I should have brought backup for the Vampire Lord. I shouldn't have thought that he could just slam into the Grail Knight unit and win, because all the Grail Knights can issue and accept challenges, which I had forgotten about. So, like I said, made a lot of mistakes, had no backup plan, and I paid for it, and that's exactly what should have happened. My opponent was smart to bait me like that, because he knows me and he knows I'll go for it. How about those chariots, huh? Best performance from them ever. Could not believe how good my chariots did. And yeah, love them, love them, love them. Until they fail me, and then I'll hate them. But you know how I am, very fickle. I really wish that my catapult was as accurate as my opponent's. His shots, I think 4 out of the 6 shots he took direct hit, or at least even if they did deviate, still hit something. When my catapult misses, it misses by a mile, or it misses just enough that it hits like that one little area that it would have to perfectly roll to hit nothing. And so that's a little frustrating, but I don't know what I would do with 90 points if I took it out of the list. I don't know how 90 points would help anywhere else in my list. So it's going to stay until I think of something better. And then it's going to be the first thing I cut, because that thing is really disappointing on a lot of levels. And I know everyone's like, you got to take 2, you got to take 2. I don't want to be double disappointed. I really don't. I don't want to have to take 180 points worth of catapults just to get one solid shot. I don't like that. I just don't. But it is a cool model. It is a cool model, so it does have that going for it. I was very impressed by my skeleton warriors taking a double lance charge and surviving. I mean, they should have been vaporized. Those guys should have wiped them. Granted, the weapon skill 5 was huge. My will be done was huge in that one. And he did attack my prince, but he has a 2-up armor save. He has the luck stone. He was able to weather it. So that was pretty friggin' awesome, I gotta be honest with you. So them holding those 2 units there, allowing my War Kitty and eventually my chariots to charge in there and give me the combat res needed to break them and run them down, or at least run them off, was huge. And the skeletons doing their anvil thing was totally worth it. And I love those guys. I really do. But this was a fantastically good game. Still have a lot of hate for the Lady of the Lake, but judging by the End Times lore, she's definitely going to get some sort of gangrene, or at the very least a urinary tract infection. So I'm feeling pretty good that, you know, there is some justice in the world still, so that's kind of nice. This is one of my absolute favorite opponents, so I always enjoy playing against him. And a draw like this, sometimes these games are just the best games too. The way they're real close all the way up to the end, and there's just no decided victor in the end. Because now we just want to play again. But yeah, definitely looking forward to the rematch with this guy, because it's a lot of fun to play him, and it's a lot of fun to play against the Bretonnians. I won't lie to you. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Battle Report 172. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. But yeah, guys, thanks.